Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Arrowfire. Welcome back to a Roundup video. It has been TFNation Minicon finished just yesterday on the 22nd of November in Reading. And yeah, we're done for another year. Second Minicon in Reading this time, so second one down south of England. It was nice. The weather wasn't nice. But it was great to do one of these conventions again. Great to see people, if indeed it felt a bit cozier, smaller, maybe subdued, such is the nature of minicons. It's still nice to see people and faces from TFNation nevertheless. So you would have known this by now. We go through a haul and roundup of the event, particularly for people who either didn't see me or my wares and what I picked up at the convention, and people who didn't see the convention themselves, to do a quick go through of what went on at the day's events. So we started pretty early. I got there around 9:30 in the morning or so for the event to kick off at 10, and it was nice not to have to wait out in the cold this year. They thought of a good system to come in and stand by the chairs because the weather was a bit rubbish. And we were in kind of a little 3-lane queuing system, which was quite good. And then that was to separate the people from the traders, to which there was only about 8 traders I counted, I think. Not to mention the artists in the middle in the forge, for lack of a term. It's all in one hall there in the Great Hall. And yeah, the banners went and everyone flooded in and went and had a little look around. The good thing is that whilst there are fewer traders there, it's nice to be able to go around and do multiple laps. And believe me, you do. And you do miss things, much like with any convention. But I certainly thought that, it's not going to be once you've done one lap, you've seen everything. Stuff was being put out throughout the day. So we started off with the opening ceremony conducted by Patrina and David Wallace. And that was nice. It's always nice to hear what's going on with the day's events and what other little surprises they've got sprinkled through the day. And really, it went straight in. Started off with the first panel by David Wallace, which was talking about David Wise and the secrets of Cybertron, which was quite interesting and really was a deep dive, showing about how David Wise wrote a lot of the G1 episodes more than any other writer, even more so about how these episodes were being long cast back and how they got to have 3 episodes dedicated to the aerial bots, 3 to the Stunticons, Perceptor and so on. And it was very interesting to work out the proposed stories from drafts and what we saw in final episodes. Episodes like War Dawn were quite well dissected there, and David did his best, certainly with microphone troubles that sadly plagued the day's events. But it was really interesting seeing the timeline of drafts and how the first draft of the 1986 movie was back in February 85. So when you work out how scripts are written that far back and how they're turned into full production, even though it is a short window, but designs are changed and edited over time, it was quite interesting. I thought David did a really good job. Then probably the panel I enjoyed most of the day, which was Tales of the Process, and that was Ed Peary and John Paul Bove going up there talking about really coloration and designs and how they work together on comics, having recently worked on a recent Turtles comic. I just thought it was really interesting hearing from 2 different sides, an artist and a colorist going up on stage. We've heard from JP before, and it's always cool to hear his process and his take on things, but it's the first time we saw Ed on stage, and I was really interested to hear what he had to say. I think he's such a good artist. I've got some of his wares to show you as well in a minute. But yeah, it was a very interesting panel. Again, the microphone situation was being plagued throughout. They had to switch to cabled microphones throughout the day, and sadly the issue got worse. It was fine for the earlier segments and sadly got worse as the day went on. But it was interesting nevertheless. I could hear what they were saying, and I thought it was just really interesting. My favourite panel, I think, of the day. Then there was Mining Energon, which of course it wouldn't be TFNation without some Dreamwave, would it, Dave? Yep, Dave Wallace found even more content relating to unreleased panels or unreleased comics of the Dreamwave productions. Sadly, this is one I only called a bit of because I did go away to get some lunch at this point. This was around 1 o'clock, so I did only catch a bit of it. Sorry, Dave. A brief panel from Blockies there with some very loud and very working PA systems showing some of the Brockies promotional videos. And also we got some Blockies reveals as we were there. That was quite interesting. We got an early Defender version prototype of Bruticus being shown on stage. That was quite cool. And also the next action edition from Blockies, which is Tarn. Tarn looking very beefy, almost on sort of MMC Masterpiece scale. Bruticus did look good, though. I was very impressed with that. And I'm just thinking, if we're getting Devastator and Bruticus, then I'll just keep throwing out combiners. I'm all for that. In the small vehicular that can turn into combiner scale, surely the aerial bots will have to be next. Then there was an official break, even though people were coming and going to the dairy, which was the canteen there, and people were just chilling out, and it was nice that you could hear a panel whilst going for a walk around as well, and seeing everything that TFNation had on offer. So of course there was a blocky stand in the middle that was showing the new wheels that have been prevailed, the die-cast models, and you had Mark and Cassandra from Blockies there who were very much showcasing the new products and plus having a few gifts that you can buy on the sale there as well. There were quite a few artists there. My good friend David Cousins, who was doing another year of Reading. He actually lives nearby, so it was a nice commute for him. Ed Peary was there, JP, Nick Roach, Simon Furman, and many others that I will forget to mention. I do apologise for that. But it's nice to see, I think, the artist alley or artist area even seeming more popular this year. There was more of that, I noticed, as many artists as there were traders, which I thought was a nice mix. I think the limits of the hall does give them a bit of a constraint, and they touched on that in the closing ceremony, so I'll mention a bit of that there. But broadly speaking, it was nice just to take a break from the panels in the same room to continue doing laps and finding more tropes as you go around. Then there was a panel from Nick Roach, who is kind of a regular for TFNation, going through his design process, and that was very well attended. A load of people sitting down watching that one, listening to what Nick had to say. It's cool. We've heard similar stories from Nick before when he's been on big stages on TFNation or sharing the stage. But it's always interesting to see his work. It's nice to see people getting the commissions. I did see some people with the Christmas Beast Wars Dinobot one, so it's a head sketch of Dinobot, but with a Father Christmas hat coloured in red, and a few people picked that up. That was cool to see. And then finishing off the scheduled panel of the day with Comics in Conversation, which was Simon Furman, and that was always interesting. Simon's got loads of stories to tell, and they were focusing a lot on Marvel UK in the 80s when Simon was writing for the Transformers comic, and various topics around that. Unfortunately, that's where the microphones were at their worst, and I was sitting in the audience about 3 or 4 rows back, and I sadly couldn't hear much of anything. It was very good that they had the pictures being displayed on a projector or a display screen that you could work out what was being said in relation to the photos, but sadly that's where the PA system was just not working, and despite TFN's best efforts to get something working using backup equipment, they made the best of what they had. It's just something that happens, technical gremlins, but it was a shame that for Simon's panel, that where Simon's got so much to say and so much we want to hear, that was probably when the microphone started to give out. It is what it is, and we know more or less where Simon's coming from. But it was always cool to hear from him, and I was able to go and talk to him at his stand, so that was nice. 5 o'clock was the wrap-up of the panels, and the traders packed up as well, and then it was the Constructicon panel, where it was Billy, Andrew Turnbull, and Dave Wallace on stage, taking questions as much as they could with the microphones and people shouting out. And with no microphones to spare in the audience, it wasn't always easy to hear some of the questions being asked. However, Billy was very transparent to saying that this will be the last year at the Reading University campus site, the Great Hall there. They're going to be looking to go to a somewhat larger venue, hopefully. So we'll see where that comes next year. If no date has been confirmed as for a southern meetup, but they did confirm one for Manchester. That will take place in March next year and the 28th. So that will be interesting to see. I will attempt to go to this one, all being well. They obviously addressed the microphone situation throughout the day, and it is what it is, and no one really complained too much about it. It was a shame, but it was somewhat out of their control. And yeah, it was just talking then about possible screening of the 1986 movie, which then led to a video being recorded. So that was a nice little audience participation. We'll see where that goes and where it gets ended up. There is something that you can't screen the 1986 movie or Transformers film in the UK. There, you can't do these screens, which I can't work out why, because Transformers 1 was and all various other ones, but that is a legal issue. So let's see if it's something that can happen for the 40-year anniversary. Then that would be great, wouldn't it, for next year? And with that, it was a closing ceremony, so it was all done and dusted. It really was a day of socialising, I felt, and toy pickup as well. It was very nice. It was great to see people, even though the weather did its best to put a damper on things and maybe kept 1 or 2 people away. It was still fairly well attended, quite well attended. Not everybody turned up at the same time, which I think probably helped. So when I turned up for opening, there was still a fair few there, but not bursting at capacity. People drip-fed their way in. It probably helped. But it was just nice to see people that otherwise we wouldn't have seen till a certain gathering in Scotland or a convention in Manchester, if not August, TFNation itself. And yes, alluded to, there is going to be the gathering in December in Glasgow. That went down very well last time. Primetime Moth from Primetime Toys has been working with TFN, even to a point that a question came up as, would there be a mini convention in Glasgow? I don't think it's off the table, and I think moving mini conventions around the country will probably happen in one form or another where logistically possible. That's really the day. So shall we go through some pickups now? So I'll start off with my inauguration of a collector's card from Primetime Toys. That's lovely, isn't it? Primetime Toys Collector's Club official member, and I need to write my name on the back. And as such, you got a few nice Primetime reflective sticker, which I think these have been helped to be created by Lucan of Lucan's Tees. Do go and check him out. And a signed Optimus Prime poster by Neil Kaplan. That's really cool. I didn't expect that. That's very nice. I'm very pleased with that. Do go and check out Primetime Toys. They are not just doing Transformer wares at the moment. They're also going to just toys in general. There's a big demand for Care Bears, surprisingly, and Mad Balls. Do go and check out. They've got a couple of promotional codes on the go at the moment. Have a look at the website, which will be in the description below. I also bumped into some of the guys from the Transformers Battersea store. It was nice to see them come up. And of course, I met BS Prime, who's got some nice production on the go. If you scan the QR code and follow the links shown on the back of the card here, you can go and check out his page. Nice to be seeing this. Nice and cool to see them. I will be attending the 1-year anniversary of the store on the 30th of November, next weekend, and on the 4th of December, there is something special going on at the store. You might want to check that out. The final bit of artwork I picked up, because I was a little reserved to it, because I've got some great artwork behind me that I'm trying to get into walls and frames, and I'm running out of wall space. But anyway, it was very nice to see this guy and very nice to see his wares. I got from Ed Peary, try and not get some reflective on it, very much the web episode of Cheetor being infused, tortured with Energon Overload and Tarantulas in the background. And he really has got that evil, deep purple, light purple vibe on the go. That is cool. And he signed it, bless him, to Arrowfire with a Y. I had a great chat with Ed around the Beast Wars podcast that I do with my co-host Chris Carnage Creations. It's great to talk to Ed. He's a lovely, lovely chap. And I said to him he did such a good job on the panel. There's a lot of his good drawings. There's so many. I've actually got a few here I didn't realise were his. But I've got some lovely, lovely stuff. And it's just nice to talk to him. I feel like I could have talked to him a lot longer as well. Lovely to see you, Ed. On to toy pickup, shall we? Well, I started off with a fairly modest one from a vendor that I must admit I hadn't seen before and I can't remember the name of. Apologies for that. But I got a baboon from the Mega Class of the original Beast Wars, which I never had. Now, I think it is missing a missile, but honestly, I don't mind. I'm quite inclined to keep him in Beast Mode. Nice little blue on the go. This was the only Mega Class I think I didn't have. I had Inferno, Polar Claw, Scorponok, Mosquito, and I think this is the only one I didn't have. So I've rectified that. And it wasn't very expensive, and I'm very pleased with it. So yeah, keeping on with the Beast Wars trope. Then I went over to Toy Fu, and I found this, which I've just never bought before, so I've always wanted. It was a Power Master Prime Leader Class Optimus Prime from, get my timeline right here, was this Titan's Return rather than Combiner Wars? I think it was, because Combiner Wars was a Battle Core one. I have to remember it. It's not one I ever picked up at the time, and I've always wanted to. I just want it because I want that grill for the alt mode. I mean, I like it enough on robot mode, but I think it's got a really menacing alt mode to it, and the same with the Ultra Magnus, so it's my intention to keep him in alt mode. I think he's missing a gun, which is a mild shame, but not the end of the world. As I say, I intend to keep him in alt mode, and it is going to a good cause, supporting Mary's Meals. Then went off to Primetime Toys, saw my good friends there, and I decided to go a little bit Legends, would you believe, with Robot Toys Megatron. Now, I have taken it out the box. It is so wee, and it's got a surprising amount of die-cast to it, particularly in the legs. I wanted to pick this up for, well, 2 reasons. Eventually on the Beast Wars podcast, we're going to be covering all the Beast Wars toys, so this is no exception, so I kind of got to do a bit of research. And I like what Robot Toys are doing in the Masterpiece scale, so I guess I wanted to see what their smaller sizes do as well. This has got a bit of a stylization to it, just a little bit. So who knows, maybe there'll be a review on it. We'll see. I went back to the stand I picked up Baboon from, and I picked up this. This was the, I'll get this right, this was Power of the Primes. So was that Power of the Primes Optimus, if this was Rodimus? I can't remember. It was so long ago now. Anyway, Rodimus Prime into the very big one where Hot Rod fits inside it. I never got this when this first came out. Would you believe this is my 2nd or 3rd Rodimus ever? I always liked the big chunky look. It was this or the Commander class that came out, and I was so on the Commander class. But I love how this guy looks in chunky shoulders. He's almost got that Unicron trilogy look to him, and I just really like how it works. It is a little bit dated, I'm not going to say it's not, but I like it, and plus the wife wasn't sure what to get me for Christmas, so now she does. But possibly saving the best till last. Something I've been after for a long time, something I haven't handled in hand since the original release of maybe 92. I was talking to a good friend, Skywarp SCS, but I completely cut him off mid-sentence because I saw something at the very corner of Toy Foo's table that had barely been put out, so stuff was being added throughout the day. And maybe if I show you this, and then maybe if I show you that, G1.5 Pyro. I've been after this for so long. Now, let me tell you, I am led to believe that the gold has been re-engineered, particularly around the waist, where that is where it's going to be its most brittle. It's probably my intention to keep him in vehicle mode because I love that vehicle mode. But honestly, I was just so pleased. I can't tell you how much I've been after this. And I don't think I have handled this since I played with a friend's one when I was a kid. So to get my own G1.5 is cool. It's really popular in those big vehicles with these vibrant colours. I grabbed it immediately. I didn't really care what happened next and what came of it. I was just holding on to it. So I was like, take my card, take my money. So pleased with this. So pleased with this. This is beating anything else I picked up on the day. Sorry, everybody else. I'm really pleased with everything I got, but I didn't expect to find this. I just hope that he doesn't disintegrate on me and he will be handled with kid gloves. But G1.5 is fun. It's cool. Oh man, I'm so pleased. I don't care if this gets re-released. I'm going to buy it again. I love this stuff. That's possibly the highlight of the pickups. There we go. It's a fairly small, modest pickup. I want to give a few shout outs as well. I saw Dave, Paul, Lee, Spiderfather, Graham, Josh as well. Who am I going to forget to mention? So many other people that I was just kind of camping out with to talk to. That was so nice to just have a little base to camp out in. I saw the guys from Transformers The Show. Becca was there. Oh God, who else? Jermaine. Andy, of course, Andy Gold, who I spend a lot of time with. Skywarp SES, Mrs. SES, lovely to see her there. So many other people who made the trip down, and it was really cool to get round, shake everyone's hand and see people. It is a bit short-lived, as the minicons are by their nature, but it's something I would not miss. I love the opportunity to just go and meet like-minded folk and friends that we rather not do once a year at a big convention. We get the other ones sprinkled throughout. So that's it all done till at least March, unless you're going to the Gathering in Scotland. So if you are, do enjoy yourself. That is my haul wrap-up of TFNation Reading Minicon. Thanks for watching. As always, I will see you on the next one.